Dumela, Sawubona, Sapkase, Namaste, Upshin, Dubra Ota, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep. Buenas noches, bonsoir. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Digital Couch with Dorielle. And this is season 2, episode Who Knew We Would Get This Far? 10, 20, 25. And tonight we're going to be chatting with an amazing sister who I need for you to share this out. Of course, have you ever met somebody who as soon as you meet them, you feel like you're my twin in my head? You're my cousin. Or we like separated, at birth. I don't know what happened. But this sister right here is Sister Felicia Harden of the HAPI film. And I've watched her for months on YouTube and just like sat from afar. And you're going to hear us chat about how we met, what she does, what I do, and how we're going to try to move this ship of Zion forward together. So listen close, do what you have to do. I hope you have your tea, your cup, and we're going to need some popcorn tonight. Welcome to the show, Sister Felicia.
Oh, I just muted. How you doing?
Excellent. Welcome to the Digital Couch. It's good to have you here.
Nice to be here. This is
good
to be here.
Fabulous. So first of all, we have to get our protocols that we know to call. Everyone needs to make sure you have your teacup, please, because the tea is going to be very serious tonight. So she has her HAPI teacup. I have my Learn to Grow You teacup, my Digital Couch teacup. And then tonight, for an added bonus, I brought some popcorn. Y'all gonna understand why I had to bring the popcorn in a hot minute. Let's get into this conversation. So I have had the blessed opportunity of watching you from digitally afar, right, on the internet streets for a couple, I guess about the year and a half. When did you guys start?
We started April of 2020.
Okay, so then it was 2 years. There we go. Well, the last 2 years was a blur.
Absolutely. I don't even know if I can remember a lot of things or pre-COVID. It's just like, it seems like this has been our life like forever. So yeah, it's been a while. It's been a minute.
It's been a while. So I want to take everyone just through a teeny bit of a journey. And as you know, I need my stream team to show up and to show out, whether or not you're showing up live or on the replay. First of all, we are on Facebook, my personal and my business page, and then we're also on my YouTube channel at Learn to Grow You. This conversation has been posted and reposted a couple of times by wonderful fans of both of ours, and so we really appreciate the fan base. So my stream team, I need for you to show up, and of course, when you hear something that is like an amazing aha moment, or like, oh my goodness, I have to keep that like in the back of my mind. Don't keep it in the back of your mind. Type it in on the page, type it in the chat, and we'll be able to see it and then repost it and answer questions as they come up, or discuss topics that maybe you want us to discuss further. Of course, you're going to share, and we love that, but we also really want you to subscribe to whatever platforms that we have. And so you see Sister Felicia down right there. It says happyfilm.com. If you already know who she is, and she's already on YouTube, so just give us some love on YouTube as well. Let us figure this part out. So I happen to be a child of what some people call like the conscious community, depending on who you talk to. Some people sort of jokingly, but it's not really a joke, would say like the Hotep community, and that's a whole like subculture in and of itself. But lovingly and respectfully, I am a child of, I'm from New York, and so I grew up in the late 80s at what is known to some as First World Alliance. And that to this day, I consider a supreme Black think tank. And some of the names that I sat in front of for at least 3 years straight include Dr. Ben Yochanan, Dr. John Henrik Clark, Asa Hilliard, Dr. Amos Wilson, Professor Jeffries, Ivan Van Sertima, Francis Cress Welsing, even Dr. LaFrancis Rogers Rose, and the names go on and on. Dr. Maulana Karenga, on and on and on. And I didn't realize at that time. Well, actually, I recognized that I was a seed planted in an amazing fertile garden. As I saw these beautiful people as they were in their prime, but I knew that, yes, they were, you know, aging gracefully. I said, well, what in the world is going to happen later on? And the people who are in the room, how are they going to take that information and continue to pollinate other gardens wherever they were? Now, some of the information that I garnered at that time was, some would call it crossing lines, because it was new information that wasn't shared by everybody. And
Mhm.
so over the next few years and decades, I would read, I would listen to lectures, and I would try to pass on the information to other people. Some people were absorbent, and others were like, I don't know about that. Like, who wrote it? Who said it? What's their degree? What's their degree? If you know what I mean by degree. And so I was like, well, let me just hold on to the information. Then we get to the last couple of years. And so I was blessed to see that some of those wonderful griots of our story had started to, of course, have these little study groups, if you will. Now we get to the last 4 or 5 years. People have taken that information and brought some of it to a digital platform. That's where you come in. And I had the blessed opportunity to just sort of be scrolling along the internet streets and see you and see some of the same people pop up. Tell me how you met these people, what position you play, and what the new generation of sharing the diasporic story is about.
Wow. All right. So you know what? It's so wild because you would think I've known these people like for forever. Um, and I too. Okay. So when I moved to New York City, um, in the early 2000s, I was an actor, and I was acting with the African Women's Repertory. And so the late Bonnie Wright, who was the director, founder of the African Women's Repertory, she would always invite Mother Keffer to our performances. And I didn't know who she was. I just thought she was a nice older lady who every time she walked in, Bonnie would make everyone stand, and then one of us would have to walk Mother Keffer down and sit her in front, and then she would watch the plays. And this woman would put on,
Mm.
anywhere between 6 to 10 plays over 2 days. She started at 8 o'clock in the morning, and each play was 2 hours. She was no joke. So, and all the plays were contemporary, but they all was part of history. So it's like it would just be like you and me, like in a year, 2005. But then we would always take a journey back in time, or somebody would come. Like it was just the way that she intertwined this idea of like our culture and our history into the modern day. It was phenomenal. We actually would bring groups of kids to come see her. I talked to, we had other teachers bringing, their kids in. It was a really nice place to be in. But Mother Keffer was the first one to actually bring me to First Alliance. And I remember my first one was with Asa Hilliard when he told everybody they need to learn how to walk and chew gum. And I was like, okay, that's what's up. But yeah, it's, but my journey didn't start there. Like I was talking to you earlier, and I was telling you that I was waiting one day for my kids. I dropped them off at Kumon, and that's where I met Taki. He was standing on the corner, and he was waiting for the production team to meet him because he was shooting in the movie HAPI, the documentary HAPI, the role of economics in the development of civilization. He was shooting that film in Harlem, and that particular day, he was going around to different Black businesses and shooting them, because there's a sequence in the film where we show all these different Black businesses. So that was the day that I met him. So we started talking, and a lot of times when you meet someone, how some people are like, oh, I do this, oh, I do that too, and I wasn't doing all that. He was, telling me about the film, and I was super interested. I didn't, I had went to film school at this point. I had been in film about 20 years prior to me meeting him. And, but we was having this conversation. But what interested me was when he told me that he took groups of people to Egypt. Now that I was like, wow, that's something I've never done. And he's like, yeah, I've been doing it for, at that point, I think he said he'd been doing it for like 20 or like 18 years or something like that. It was some wild number. And I kept looking at him thinking like, oh, he's kind of young to be doing all of this with Black people. But I'm like, all right, so he gave me the information and we started a conversation about Egypt. And mixed in those conversations was this idea of HAPI, right? And he started telling me more and more about the film. I would kind of give my 2 cents because I don't know what Black woman doesn't always give their 2 cents. I don't know. But so my little 2 cents, and he's like, okay, well, all these little 2 cents, you're going to have to help out because, when you're making a film, you can't make a film by yourself. And if you make the film by yourself, you'll take your whole entire lifetime to make this film by yourself because there's way too many tasks to do and it's too much for one person. And so I can appreciate that because I find myself telling people that now when they're telling us like, oh, HAPI should do this and HAPI should do that. I'm like, okay, so look what you doing. And so that conversation with HAPI and me giving my 2 cents and really that was a really crucial time because I really started to understand of what HAPI was and how HAPI is in our lives and just the importance of him and I meeting because we literally had a job to do. I didn't know all that when I signed up for it. But as we started talking, and then once I saw like a rough cut of the video, I was like, oh my God, these people are dynamic. Who are these people? Who's Professor James Small? Who's Ifudishi Juhuti Miss? Who's Dr. Leonard Jeffries? Like, who are these people? And so through the course of working with him, I think I want to say that they were about maybe 70 to 80% of, they had, at that point, they had shot about 70 to 80% of the principal photography.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I kind of came on and we finished the film. We finished it in the following year in March, right before COVID. We had a screening at Medgar Evers and it was nice. It was like a packed screening. And we were like, okay, we're going to start our tour. We were going to do a 6 to 8 city tour with the film. And we were going to start at the Schomburg. That was, we were going to be there, for the premiere, but then COVID happened. And we were like, okay, we just saw COVID over like in 2 weeks.
Right. We all thought that, right? Oh, 2-3 weeks. We'd be back.
We'd be good. And so we're like, we can wait to screen a couple of weeks. But then when we find out like, oh no, this is going to be what's going to be happening. So at this point, we did not want to lose the momentum because, prior to me coming, Taki might have had, I want to say he had maybe 2 or 3 partial screenings of parts of the film, to raise money. He would show like 45 minutes, to gain, because this film, HAPI ain't cheap. Okay. And so this whole idea of like, we had everybody ready and we're like, so that's when we switched to YouTube. We didn't really have a lot of experience with YouTube. We learned everything from the beginning. And shout out to Elaine. She's one of my friends who in the beginning, she was crucial, like with all of us trying to figure out like how to do this. Right. And so, so I think I researched, I was like, oh, I think I found something called StreamYard. Oh, we can do this. And so literally we just started to do, this thing about just bringing people from the film, come on and talk. Our first guest was Dr. Wade Nobles. And then we had like Supernova, Reggie Mabry. We had the late Dr. Patricia Newton, who was in our film, which is Frances Quest Wilson was her mentor. So we were just trying to figure it out. And then it got to the point where people forgot that we had a film and, that because they would just think about HAPI Talks. And we're like, no, we actually got a film. And so later on that year in July, that summer, we actually had a screening online. And it started our whole thing. We would do a screening. We would then have a talk back with a bunch of the cast members, and we did that actually for the next 2 years. Yeah.
So part of what I know people don't understand when you are trying to launch something big, even in, let's say, the grand scale of the blank wood. right? The big screen. That there's a lot of pre promotion of tiny bits, little commercials, little vignettes,
That all
little.
costs money. That all costs money. And I think that's the other thing. Everything costs money. So unless that's what I'm saying, like you could do it yourself, right? I could cut a trailer. It would take me forever. You have to pay someone, and it's done in 2 to 3 hours. But all those little pieces. And the other thing is that I forgot to mention, which was huge, is that in the midst of this, we had applied for this marketing grant through the mayor's office here in New York City, and we actually won. So our poster was like in 215 bus shelters. And that was, yeah, I think it ran for like 3 weeks. So we were managing that, and then we did an event with the African Poetry Theater. Shout out to Sekou Branch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of things were happening, but I feel like it's been a journey. And people have come along, people have left, new people, and it's just like a river. Like we're flowing like a river at this point. And it's been one hell of a ride.
So I want to just lift the level of that for a moment, and let me take a moment to say thank you to the former mayor of New York City, who thought it a good thing to support this effort, which means that the writing and the pitch was amazing, that it connected, to the fiber of people who have been underrepresented in the past, and that there was also space for this work. And those forerunners, and although there are a number of forerunners that led into this work, I'm sure that the promotion of movies that came out in the past, let's say 4 to 5 years, whether or not you want to mention one of them on the big screen by one of your alum brothers, probably helped to purport the readiness of the mind for him to say, I'll sign on to that. Right. So I'm just lifting that the people who come before us and that walk alongside us, they definitely make room for those new ideas and new platforms and new visions to come to fruition. So that's fabulous.
Yeah, no,
That's
absolutely.
fabulous. So you started with HAPI, HAPI is the second production, correct?
Third, actually, it's Taki Grant's third film. He did Nubia, The Untold Story,
Okay.
and then the Tekken,
Mhm.
and he took a little time off, and he came back with Happy.
And this is amazing because this brother looks extremely young. Looks extremely young. So it almost looks like, were you working on Nubia in high school?
And also, I'm telling you, I had a side eye when he's like, "Oh, I've been bringing groups to Egypt for 20 years," and I was like, "Okay." But for some reason, I believed him, and I went to Egypt that following year. Yeah, he was having a trip that February, and I went to Hootie Films. Shout out to Hootie Films. Because when you look at Happy, it's beautiful. Like it's shot beautifully, right?
Great.
And we have to give credit to Hootie Films, Robert Gay and his wife. They're the ones that are responsible for the aesthetics of Happy. But we went. I went back and I was like, oh my God, like how did I not know this? And up until that point, I had been living a whole life and didn't know. Like I always felt, I felt the consciousness, right? And I moved throughout the consciousness, but I didn't know the consciousness, if that made sense. That makes sense. Like I didn't know all these people. But what they talk about and what they believe, that's how I have pretty much lived my life. But I just didn't, like they're now giving me the why, which is nice, and the historical context. So yeah, I'm learning with everyone else.
Which is fabulous that you are in a place that the people that you've just mentioned, they saw you ready to walk alongside them and bring your knowledge and bring your information and support and say, yeah, I know how to do this. Like we were talking about helping our elders
Yeah.
set up the back of house, right? The actual
Yeah.
technological hardware in
Yeah.
order to get online. Like they can talk for hours, but to just say, wait, what button do I press? What's all of this?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think about a
Time for
story.
it.
Yeah. I think about the late Dr. Renaud Rashidi. Oh, I love him. I was trying to convince him to get on a live with me. And we were on Facebook Live trying to get on live. And that's when I realized that I didn't know how to get on live. I don't think I still know how to get on live on
I'll
Facebook.
help you with that.
Yeah, unless I don't, if I don't go through StreamYard. So I'm like, wait, no. And it's so, Dr. Rashidi was like, listen, look, I'm gonna do my Zoom. And I was like, no, just wait, because we gotta promote your webinar. So we went from we had people on Facebook, they're like, just do this, just do that. So we ended up going to Instagram and we did an Instagram live with him. And I remember when he finally clicked in, I was like, yes, we did it, Dr. Rashid, we did it. Like I was like, yes. And yeah, I tell you, just shout out for perseverance, because you think about, like, these cats have done things like their whole entire lives this way.
Right.
And now they have to pivot if they want to stay out there, and all of them have pivoted. Some pivots have been a little slower, but they've all pivoted, and now we see them all the time.
Right.
Which is nice. It's nice.
Right. And I remember chatting about how we have these amazing books on the shelves. And so as I think about the transference of the information, of the wealth of stories, right? We definitely are an oral tradition, but I want to take license and say, yes, we are an oral tradition, but we're also, and maybe Brother Taki would have the better word, and then I forgot the other brother's name. Anyway, like a graphic community as well, because of the glyphs on pyramids, right? Those are the stories. Those are the visual representations of thought, of word. But when the thought comes and then they transfer it to the spoken word and the others hear, and then there's interpretation, then someone says, oh, you said it a couple of times, let me write that down, right? I call that my stream team. Let me write that good word down. And then that good word is passed on, and whether or not it's captured and burned or whatever, or taken as booty, BOOTY, and like it's a part of someone's now collection, is taken to a museum. Another story. But then that word is passed on. And I look at our elders and I'm like, wow, I'm so proud that you spoke to us in lecture halls. You spoke to us in educational settings or university. Then someone thought it wise to record it. Shout out to the videographers from, like, I remember 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and I still see some of the same brothers from First World, from African, from the slave theater, and still doing the great work today.
Bob Lott.
Right.
Yeah, I think of Bob Lott. Oh my God, he has probably more video on people than anyone. Bob, he's out of Pennsylvania. He did the Teddy Pendergrass documentary, but he has video. He's been following these cats for years and years and years and years and years. But yeah,
it's beautiful. And I actually started pulling out some of my cassette tapes that I used to purchase. And I'm thinking, I was on the phone with my mentor, so I know he's going to see this. So shout out to you, Baba Kafra. I love you dearly. He was on the phone with me last night for like 2 hours. I was just near crying. Like, I can't believe I'm going to be speaking to these amazing people I've only seen from the back of the room. And I said, wait a minute, did we pay to get into First World, the lectures? And he's like, I don't remember that. I don't remember. I said, I just remember when I left, I either left every week with a book or a tape.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, no, you know what? I actually met a sister whose mother was the stenographer. She's passed away, but she was one of the stenographers for First World. So she was in charge of making sure all the tapes were there, and then people had to buy the cassette tape for $1. And so this,
Okay.
as I'm talking to her, she showed me all these tapes. She had all the first world tapes in her house. I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's, yeah. And she's like, yeah, they were $1. So people bought them for $1. And yeah.
I believe it. I believe it. I could literally pull out some tapes. And I was always like, well, how did they then do it? And what we realized is, of course, because we went week to week, as soon as that day was over, it would be available the next week.
Yep.
So I have like part 1, 2, and 3 series of stuff from Dr. Ben. I have another collection of stuff from Dr. Clark. I have some stuff I know from Amos Wilson that I played and played and played when I went back to college the next year, because and I will say this publicly, shout out to my undergraduate alma mater, Connecticut College, but I had to bring it to my professors and say, I think maybe you should listen to this. And they were like, well, who is that? And I said, well, they have doctor in front of the name, just like you have doctor in front of your name. And doesn't that mean y'all are equal? Child, I was a mess. I raced them. I raced them on my canvas. But it literally felt like I had one education from say August to May, and then another education from May to August, and then in between.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
As my brother would say, you had a training from August to May, and then you had education the other parts of the year.
Yeah.
So now let's move into how do you see your role as a keeper of the flame, as supporting the elders, because in my work or in this platform, this is I feel like my personal work. I feel like this is my personal pulpit, to highlight inspirational leaders and to just share them around the world. And those people that I'm blessed to be able to speak with and give a high five to, give a hug, and just share the good work. So how do you see your role in keeping the flame alive and in transferring the information to people who would not necessarily have gotten this information? And if you want to sort of drop some of the names or some of the people that you've worked with, in addition to Brother Taki, some of the brothers I know we've spoken about who have their own amazing platforms, but they're all great keepers of the flame. And let's just sort of talk about how that fuses together.
Yeah. So, but that's interesting, my role. I think every day I'm trying to figure out what am I supposed to be doing. And I just listen, right? Taki has talked about this. Professor Small has talked about this. We talk about our ancestors, we talk about spirit, we talk about God, all of them they're clear about what we're supposed to be doing, right? And so if we can just get tapped into them, then all we have to do is just do what they want us to do. And so a lot of times, it's specifically when it comes to HAPI, we just listen and then we just do what we're supposed to be doing. And so we don't always know, like I'm telling you, I did not sign up for any of this. I've always had I'm an occupational therapist by trade, and I've always been around like the elderly, because I love old people. I love how they have, like, they take forever to do little stuff, but like I love it. I love it. And I have lots of patience, for them. But I've always sat at the foot of elders. It's just now they're just different elders who are just doing different things. And so that part seems very familiar, seems very, easy for me. But I always wonder, I was like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? And so I just, whatever they say, I just do. So that's why I'm here.
Excellent.
It's like I can't even, I would love to be like, oh, I wanted to do. No. I was literally just waiting for my kids to come out of Kumon on a summer day. It was a nice summer day in Harlem. I was about to just lay down in my car and sleep for a minute while these little 2 jive turkeys were in the Kumon, and it's now I'm here.
And of course, we would say that, your great grandparents fashioned you to be at that spot on that day at that time. And Brother Taki to walk up, look in your car, And smile.
Yeah, like literally, and I'm smiling at him like, oh, like I know him. It's like it's a familiarity about him. I was like, hey, like and I think about that, but like that, those type of things happen in so many. Like it happens in our lives constantly, like every day in everyone's lives. But it's like, how many times do we actually pay attention and then honor that, right? You know, because sometimes things happen and they're not in your mind. You're like, okay, this is not the time for this, but it is actually the time for this, And so I'm just happy that I was in a receiving type of mindset, that he was in a receiving type of mindset, and that we were able to start discovering HAPI in this type of way. So it's nice.
Beautiful. Excellent. And so this HAPI, or the using economics to discuss or to talk about community development, or no, the development of civilizations, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the role of economics, yep, in the development of civilization.
Right. And so it's not necessarily a particular civilization, but it's because it's not like we're talking about civilization of the United States.
No, it's the civilization. It's
right.
The beginning of time. And
right.
And HAPI is such a great documentary, because we're taking what Dr. Leonard Jeffries has been he coined this. He's been using it. He's been discussing this for years and years and years. Is this idea of economics, the pyramids analysis, economics, culture, and politics. We cannot be free until we have embraced all three of those things equally. Like, we need all three to be okay. Period. We can't do it if we just have money, it doesn't matter, because if with no cultural backing and no political backing, then you're just going to be like one person having money, like Oprah. Like there's that doesn't do anything for Black people. We need all three. And so that's the beautiful thing about HAPI, and that's what we are. That's our mission, and we are absolutely 100% behind making sure people understand that.
Excellent. And now, so this has grown from, he said he started it as a documentary. And then while we were in Ronaville, right, we were all shut down from going to the movies. In essence, y'all brought the movies to the people on the internet streets. Yeah. And you sort of spoke about it in very minute pieces. But then there was the upswing again. It was like the pendulum swing, right? And so it sort of brought it back to center, and you moved forward. What happened in this spring? What happened this spring when it was supposed to be, like it was supposed to be the...
Yeah. So, and let me, and one thing, so that I make clear. So in Taki's mind, he had developed the HAPI movement before developing the movie. So it was always going to be a HAPI movement. And then he created the documentary, him and Rock. It was first a movement always, and then the documentary came along. So this part of this HAPI movement that we're doing, we were always going to do that. So about a year ago, we had decided that we wanted to take a trip, yet another trip to Kemet, and we want to bring like all of our HAPI followers, people who were supporting us. So we did this huge campaign, and we started to get people to sign up for this pilgrimage to Kemet. Then we were like, okay, we want to do a conference. And really it was Taiki and Anthony Browder. They were, it was Taiki's. I can't remember whose idea it was, but in any event, we were like, we're going to do a conference. So once he said a conference, because Taiki and I feel like we talked about it before, but we were like, yo, that's way too much, doing a whole, like bringing people there and doing a conference. But then it kind of came back around. And so the birth of One Africa, Returning to the Source conference was created. So we're getting all these people. We're like, yes. I think we might have had like 200 and maybe 5 people. I can't remember the final number. I know it was 200 and something. So we were all scheduled. We're going to be leaving in February. Then it's like we started getting, I think, online and Facebook, there was a bunch of pushback from Arabs, Egyptians. There were people that lived there that did not want us to come. They didn't want us to come and talk about our history. They thought that we were coming to uprise people. We don't know whatever was happening. They were attacking us on Facebook. They were attacking people who were supposed to be coming to present. Just a few. They were attacking them on on Facebook as well. And then it just got to a point where we were asked to cancel the conference. So we like on social media, it says like, oh, we're going to cancel it. We never had any intentions of canceling. We were going to reroute it some other place, but we were going to still have a conference. It just wouldn't be in Egypt. And so we're like, okay, then we were urged to, not go because of safety. And I put safety in quotation marks because it was never really verified that there was safety. And this is where it gets real murky, because at this point, there were people who looked like us who was literally trying to destroy us. And this is the thing, a lot of times when we are out here, doing stuff, we understand we have haters, right? But I think people started to look at what HAPI was doing and what HAPI was able to do. And maybe they saw things in HAPI that we didn't necessarily see, or, because we've always been committed to the same thing. HAPI, we have 4 principles. The first one is to love Black people. Second one is to support Black businesses. The third one is to become more financially astute with your money. And the fourth one is to teach the youth the truth. We've been clear from day one, okay? And we have every guest we brought on, we are committed to this mission of HAPI. And so I don't know what happened in February where people felt like, I think that the whole Facebook thing was kind of used as something, but when we started dissecting that more, we understand that there's like a little computer bots or something that can just create like fake people and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fakeness going on. But with all this stuff going on, we decided that we were going to reschedule the trip. Okay. But we never canceled anything, right? And I think like haters was like, oh yeah, now they're not going, and da-da-da-da. We're like, oh no, we're going. And so not only did we go, okay, and not only did we have a conference, and shout out to Professor James Small for keeping us on track, because he knows specifically who was trying to destroy us, right? Because these people were actually calling people who were part of our conference, because we moved the conference to Detroit. They were calling them, said, don't be part of this, just dumb stuff. And I was like, what has HAPI done to you? Nothing. And so all this drama is going on, but we're just staying the course. We're like, nope, we're going to have this conference. And that conference, that One Africa conference, we live streamed it. And when we start looking back at it, even in it, at some point after we got over the shock of it happening, and we were like, okay, this is happening, but we had to pivot and do something. We were already saying, you know what, this is probably the best thing that could have ever happened, because the conference that we had in Detroit, we could have never, ever, ever, ever had in Egypt. This conference in Detroit was live streamed all across the world. We had 13 amazing conversations, and we changed the name to One Africa Power and Unity, because we understood with all this stuff happening, there was no unity amongst us. There was no group to come in and say, okay, listen, we're not going to let them do this to you, and this is what we're doing. We didn't have any economic power. None of those things was happening. And so we understood that we need to have a different conversation. It's good that we do need to understand where civilization came from and how we were key in everything that's happening now in the world. But it's also important for us to have a conversation about how do we work together, for real work together, not fake work together, but for real work together. So assembling these 13 scholars, and some were in person, some was on Zoom. It was incredible. You walked into the DoubleTree in Detroit, and literally it smelled like Black love and sage. And I keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying that until we have another one and it smells like something else. Because literally everybody was just hanging out. We had Dr. Georgina Falou giving out her phone number on the live stream, I'll help you. And she said, listen, anybody that wants to form a corporation, I will do it for free. Here's my phone number. And so during the conference, she had groups of people, and we had to say, okay, look, guys, come on back to the little conference. We pull her away because she was like in a panel discussion. But she was like, wait, no, I'm helping my people.
She was holding court on the sidelines. She was having a little sidebar.
Yes, we had Baina Bello, chilling out, talking to people. Dr. Rosalind Jeffries talking to people. Like, it was crazy. And I was like, this is like the best. The vendors, we were all like on one floor. It was really nice. But it really started us thinking about this idea of like unity and giving it some real thought. And even like after we did the live stream, it was a time where we were like, we don't know if we should kind of like sell this to everybody because we don't know if they'll be able to get it. But once we watched it back, because we were like, here and there and everywhere, we just to be able to sit and watch it in its entirety. It's like 12 hours. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. We're like, yeah, people need to see this. And the thing about it is like the reason why we keep pushing this One Africa, buying this, the main reason is that because people were stopping us from having a conversation. And that should enrage everybody. Like you should be mad when any Black person can't have another conversation with another Black person someplace, or they can't have a conference somewhere. That should make you upset, right? And so one of the ways that we can, like overcome or just make a statement is by watching this One Africa, the thing that they were trying to stop us. Like someone else thinks that this is so important that they try to stop it. So why don't we think it's so important that we need to be watching it, right? So yeah, so we've been, doing that. And then we ended up having, we had only the people that were going on the trip with us knew we were leaving. We just kind of left under the cover of darkness. We had never did a tour called the HAPI Tour ever. So every place that we visited in the film, we went to. And we went there with 83 people, and 23 of those people were elders. And them elders got it in. I'm in pyramids with Mfudishi, who was 71 years, Mfudishi Juhuti, miss.
Thank you, Mfudishi Juhuti.
Who is 71, yes, who's 71. Like we were like, it was such a nice trip just to be, it was just like a stance. Like we were just taking a stance. And so I feel like, this is our work. This is our work. And we're not going to be derailed. We're not going to, like this is what we need to be doing. And we're really trying to inspire other people to, really join the HAPI movement in a real way. So.
Excellent. So I'm being taken back to an elder like Queen Mother Moore, right? Who part of the movement of One Africa, other elders who are part of as Professor James Small. And for those of you who don't know, if you come back in the next show, Professor James Small will be on the digital couch right here. And so I'm blessed and honored to have him. His connection to the OAAU, right? The Organization of African American Unity, and the idea of bringing the 54 continents together. So one question of One Africa, who from the continent is a part of these conversations?
Yeah, so we originally had Dr. Theophil Abanga scheduled to come. And then Professor Small was like, he didn't know, he didn't really want him to travel. Okay. So we were like, okay, no problem. So we were like, we'll go there. So we had arranged it with, I don't know if you know Omega Axel. He does a lot of trips. He's out of the UK, amazing personality. He's just a good guy. He was going to meet me there. We had this whole thing we were going to be doing, and the time with the visa, we just could not make that happen. And so we were like, okay, we're going to get him online.
Yeah.
Again. So
listen, that's the beauty of push the live button. If I can't get here, you can't get here, I'm going to see you and we're going to be right there. That's it.
But on this one, we couldn't push the live button because the internet in the Congo is not as reliable as the internet here. And
I've been there. I've been through that. Not I've been to the Congo, but I've been through that, right?
Yes. And so we had a hard time with the language barrier, not with Dr. Banga, but with his assistant, his secretary, and so we were just unable to make it. And like, and this is how we understand that spirit is working. Like, the spirit has its own thing, and we can't even be mad at how things happen, because he was, we were trying to get him on like literally 2 hours before, and we had Dr. Susan Tata, who is originally from Cameroon. She was going to be there, present, and some tricky, like just weird things started happening at the airport, so she couldn't fly. But then she delivered this speech that was breathtaking, and almost everybody in the room had tears in their eyes. It was, and we know that she was. And she even said it. She's like, I wouldn't have been able to make this speech had I known that they were stopping me from coming.
Wow.
And I tell you, you have to look at One Africa. You have to look at everyone's, lecture. But
right. So I have to say, I want to make sure that people go to happyfilm.com, and make sure that you take a look around, but that you also purchase the 12-hour replay of the conference. And how many dollars is it?
It's only $20. It's $20, and you don't even have to listen. For $10, you can rent it. You can rent it all weekend.
So I bought it. I will be doing some traveling in the next couple of days. I will be watching it. It will be binge worthy. Look, I have my popcorn ready.
Yeah, you're gonna be texting me, because I'm telling you, when you see every single one of those people, you're gonna have them on your show, because it's like they were. It was like looking at the 4x100 Jamaican girls 4x100 relay. It's like passing the baton, and it's like one just built on the other one. It was beautiful. Dr. Ken Harris was our MC. He also did a lecture, and he runs the National Business League. And that organization, I think, has been around for 122 years. They've only had 4 presidents, and he's one.
Beautiful.
Yeah. He is like dynamite. So it was really nice.
When I saw the lineup, and because I was aware and I was watching, or maybe like once a week or so, or twice a week, I would, because I kind of live on YouTube, I would be like, oh, what are they talking about now? And then I was hearing about the conference, and then I heard when the pivot occurred, and it was like, no, we're having it in Chicago. And I said, no,
Detroit.
Sorry, Detroit.
Detroit.
I said, Detroit, weren't they going to the continent? Okay, so Detroit. And I'm like, man, I don't think I can get there. But, I was watching the lineup. I saw who was on there. I said, my goodness, I just become aware of Dr. Bayina Bello.
I love her.
Work that she does with IET, and talking about the revolution and who was involved.
Let me tell you, when things are going down, she called us and she's like, look, y'all, you're doing this. That's good. I'm behind you. Like, this is what elders are supposed to do, right? I hate some people. I hate saying what people are supposed to do, but like elders, this is what they do. Their whole body of knowledge, all the experiences, they use it to help, younger people like you and I, to rise to our best position, right? And that's exactly what she did. She did all types of things for us, both spiritually, and just really just helping us to feel good about what was happening and our decisions, and knowing that we were going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Professor James Small, another one. Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Dr. Rosalind Jeffries. They were just like, listen, we got y'all. Where y'all going? We going. Like, they were just really, they were elders in the real sense of like the council of the council of elders. When we look at that pyramid of how we should be operating, they are absolutely our council of elders. Yeah.
I love it. I love the fact that there are still sojourners who are walking the walk, who are talking the talk, and who are just available to have people learn from them.
They came with us to Egypt. Yeah, you had Dr. J and Dr. Ross. They're 85 years old. They were right on up there. Dr. J was on a little camel going up to see Harkuf. Like it was crazy. Yes, and that's why we knew, it's like the response that we're getting. We understand that we're on the right path, and we're
Was
just
there
so happy with people.
was there a dry eye in the space to see Dr. J on a camel? Like, was there?
In fact, I mean, I had so many headaches when I was in Egypt. It was so many crazy things happening. It's like I had headaches because it was just too much going on. It was just like, this is too, and we couldn't even process it at the time.
Right.
It was just so much. My kids were with me. They were having a blast.
That's
Um,
wonderful.
but it was just a lot of, it was just so much like raw emotion. It was really hard for us to kind of, process it there. And I feel like in a lot of ways, I'm still processing now. When I look at pictures, I'm like, I forgot we did this.
Right. Like, oh, we did that. I was there. I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm just bowled over. I'm bold, like I said, bowled over with glee that we're in this
Yeah.
conversation. So as we're moving forward and we'll start to sort of tie this up, and I know that there are going to be. So I was getting messages all day today, like, "Oh my goodness, you're going to be on! Oh my goodness, like maybe I have something scheduled." I said the power of replay. So when people see this on the replay, I need you to type in, say hey, go follow Happy Film on YouTube, get the One Africa conference for $20.
$20. Like it's $20. And
$20. It's an
it's really,
investment. It's
yes.
an investment.
Yeah. And you have to sit down there with you have to sit down with someone else because, we are very serious about this. We've got work to do. And this is the time for our rebirth. Professor Small, he started in some lecture we was talking to him and he was just like, yeah, he's like, happy is the rebirth of consciousness. And he later came back and said it's the restoration of consciousness. And I was just like, he just be saying stuff. And so when I asked him about it, he's like, I said that. I was like, you said that. Because I write, when I talk to him, I have a pad and paper. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter. Or I'm on my phone typing notes. And he's like, he's like, did you hear what I said? I was like, yep. And I say it verbatim.
Look, it's good. There we go.
Yep. In fact, when we were the second day that we were in Kemet, he called me like the first night, like late. And he was just like, he said he had some thoughts about us traveling and he wanted me to share with everyone. And he proceeded to dictate this message that he wanted everyone to consider as they take this journey, in Kemet, like just some things for them to think about. And I was like, oh my God, like who's doing that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like who's doing that? Who cares enough about us to do that? Right. And I think that they're just perfect examples of how we should be living our lives. The elders that get it, not the little ones that that were haters, but the ones that really get it. Yeah. And so we have to, and supporting them is by us literally doing the work. That's how we support them. They have, by now everyone should have all their books, their lectures. We should have all those things, but it's really about us actually doing something now. It's just not about us reading, but what are you specifically doing for the community?
Precisely.
And working on yourself. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a good place to land, if you will, about how doing the work and what it looks like, how the transference of this beautiful inspiration and, I'll say snatching the gems from the elders while they are still here with us, but then giving it to our youth in tangible and trying to think of, let's just say, so in ways that can really permeate what they're doing now and how they're living now, because they are still infused with what the media is saying, how they should dress now, what they should be listening to. And I remember, and I'm going to cycle back to my brother. I remember, and I was in college in these days. And so every sort of special day, which at that time we're talking more than, and I don't mind, like more than 30 years ago, we celebrated Kwanzaa a lot. And it was like very big week-long celebration. And still within that part of my community, it is. And we were taught from that moment, our gift giving is going to be a book. Our gift giving is going to be a book. And we were able to shift the mindset of our children with each day, celebrating that period. We listened to someone's lecture. We had a formal discussion. We had like a round table, and some of these were like heated debates, but they were so precious and they were just so
Yeah.
honorable. And then on that last day, and so, here it is, a number of us were buying not one book, but we would be buying like, no, I'm buying like a stack of 8 books, 10 books at a time. Each person gets a book. And then, like, for the next 2 to 3 months, okay, look, we read in chapter, 1 through 4.
Yeah.
And the middle of January, we coming back, we meeting for so and so's Earth Day celebration. Let's talk about what you read in chapters 1 through 4. And it was a loving diligence. It was a loving diligence, and it was purposeful. And if this is the restoration or the resurrection, right, of cultural consciousness, then I was having conversation last night on my show with a sister who is Happy Reading LLC. There we go. And she was like, I want to shift people shift their mindset with reading. And I was like, how you doing that? But she was finding out sort of where they are, let's say emotionally or in terms of their personal development. And then she said, what type of reading do you enjoy? But then she would suggest certain things. And now I'm transferring that information to today's conversation. And I'm saying, so if we're having thoughts of, well, what's happening with these violent attacks on our bodies, right? What's going on in the world over these past couple of days and weeks, no matter where you live, what are the books that we should pull off of our shelves, right? Dust them off. What are the chapters that we need to get back into? To focus on ball games, and hopefully you know where I'm going with this. Ball games and what's happening with athletes, what's happening with sports and people being traded or people taking over, or the sportsmanship looking different than it did 10, 15 years ago. Who should we be reading? We should be going back to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and reading that chapter on ball games, and right, and just sort of, when you read something like that, some people are like, oh my gosh, like that's not what sports is all about. That's not what football and soccer and but you should be listening to a different perspective, a different sociological perspective or psychological perspective. And whether or not everybody believes it's true, hear another perspective by somebody who is a part of a group that has been purported to dominate in that field, and take another look at it. Because the same way that we can dissect the 13th Amendment,
Mm-hmm.
the same way that we can dissect and sort of complain about the school to prison pipeline and what happens in fourth grade and with a fourth grade test, you should have the same domineering like feeling and efficacy about looking at what gets highlighted. How is it that we're supporting artists who are supposed to be leaders and influencers, but they're impacting our young people to, let's say, consume items that change their mind, to don, so we should have these conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I was thinking about when you were saying and talk about the sports piece, $400 million Slave. That I love that book. I must have carried that book around for 8 years. And then one day I was talking to my friend who was like, "Oh, I know the writer." And I was like, "You do?" And he was like, "Yes, that's Bill Rhoden. That's my good friend." I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I have to meet him." And so he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna try to hook it up." I'm like, "All right." So I'm at City College one day. I go across the street, Cafe One, to grab something, and there's a gentleman, an older man sitting, like in a table and chair. Because I have the book. I literally carry that book all the time because I was like, this book is so damn good. And he's like, so he's talking to me. He was like, "Oh, you are you reading this book?" I was like, "No, you don't understand. I've read this book. I'm going on and on, and it was Mr. Roden himself." Exactly, because he lives in Harlem, and so he's in the film. He's in HAPI. He's in a scene in the movie. I was like, he's got to be in here. But that $400 million Slave, and he wrote that book like 20 something years ago. It's like, come on, people. Like, and that's why. So it's like, we're trying to get off this merry-go-round of just the same thing happening over and over again. We already know, like our ancestors have laid everything out for us, right? All we have to do is just read it and say, okay, and then put it, and then do what they're saying so that we can be okay. Because they've laid out the blueprint. There's so many of our elders and ancestors have laid out the blueprint. And then Addicted to White, that's another book I'm reading by Dr. Jerome Fox. Addicted to White.
So this is what I'm going to do. I need those people who watch this on the replay, I need you to be my stream team. Again, you're charged to be my stream team.
Yes.
Her drop a book, drop a person's name or something like that. Type it in the chat. I'll do the best I can to go back and sort of take these and get the links or whatever, or drop the names so that y'all can follow these people. Because that's what happens on the digital couch. We talk about great things. We have critical conversations, but then we go something like go pick up or go subscribe to, the channel, go follow the person, in ways that you can. And I guess last but not least, it's to support the support of programs like these, the support of conversations like these. I grew up with, what's his name? Jerry. Who did the Jerry's Kids, like the March of Dimes?
Jerry.
Jerry
Was it Jerry Lewis?
I think Jerry Lewis. Maybe
I feel like it's Jerry somebody. I think it's Jerry Lewis.
Right. I grew up on him and doing like these late night things. And I remember, the telethons, right? And I just grew up like, oh my gosh, here he goes again. Like, how many ways is he going to talk about the same thing? And both of us are in, this new highway, right? This new internet super highway of social media. And some people will say, well, just say it once. No, you have to say it again and again and again and again. It's like every breath you take, you say the same things. And so I'm going to shout out one of your brothers.
Who knows?
Right. Right. I'm going to shout out one of your brothers who I'm saying publicly, I'm looking forward for him to be on my couch as well. I'm saying it publicly. You know who I'm talking about, right?
No, wait, who are you talking about?
African History Network.
Oh, Mike. Yeah. I'll give you his number. Yeah, Mike is such a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
But here's what sticks out in my head about him. At first, I thought, did he forget that he just said that? Because he'll say, let's just use the comment, like, comment, and subscribe. But he'll say, like, comment, and subscribe, like, comment, and subscribe, like, comment, and subscribe, like, comment, and subscribe. Or, get the book, The African Origins of Civilization by Cheikh Anta. Get the book, The African Origins of Civilization. And he'll say it again. And at first I was like, why does he keep doing that? Over and over in the same sentence. And I realized, like Jerry Lewis, that people they cooking, they taking care of the kids, they folding clothes, and they're halfway listening. But when you repeat something over and over again, it becomes more ingrained in your personality. The same with our story. So for people to grow up and to just know, let's say, and I say this usually, Malcolm and Martin, or Malcolm, Martin, and Mandela, and that's all you need to know. I'll say it in our vernacular, there's 11 more of 100 names that you need to know as well. And so if they're not going to teach it in our schools, then we, the people who know, have to keep saying it and keep saying it until it becomes just as rote as 1 comes before 2, which comes before 3, which comes before 4.
Like the alphabet.
Right.
You have to say things 1,000 times. It's just like when I talk to when I'm telling my kids stuff, I tell them things 1,000 times. It's like I just keep saying the same thing. One day.
You told me. I said, but guess what? It's not done. So I'm thinking you didn't know.
Exactly. That's interesting you bring that up, because I know we'll meet people, like even at the African Street Festival, people came by and they were I was like, have you guys seen HAPI? They're like, what's HAPI? But they're subscribed to HAPI Talks. I was like, it's the documentary that like Happy Talks. But people were like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you had that. And I was like, and I sometimes like when I'm saying it online, I feel like I'm saying it so much I don't really want to keep saying it because you feel like just like what you're saying, like you feel like I just keep saying the same thing over and over again. But I was like, yeah, we have a whole allegiance of our supporters who don't even know we have Happy the movie.
Right.
And the documentary, it's 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Right.
It's such a love letter to Black folks. And so we're continuously like happy. Or people will ask us, what does happy stand for? We get the same thing. So we're just used to like, we have to keep saying it. We just gotta keep putting it out there. That's why I kept saying at One Africa, just One Africa. One Africa. You gotta go get the tapes, $20, One Africa.
Right. And I'm totally supportive of this. And so, as we spoke before, I'm looking forward to supporting as I can, using my platform to help bring more people to this conversation. Because listen, First World, that was 30 years ago. There will never be a First World like it was. There will be there will be HAPI Talks. There will be the ACAT tours. There will be, the documentary on Nubia. There will be the Tech End. There will be that. But that back there, week after week, just seeing these geniuses. But I'm trying to fuel and feed and support who are the next generation of those people. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and they're holding on. Let me tell you, they are holding on. I just think about like I was in the Air Force when I was talking to Professor Small. He said something, and I was like, I was in the Air Force when you were doing that. Like this. He was in for. I mean, like that is so wild. And he is still here, and he's giving it. So yeah.
Every moment, like let me just tell you this. I was on the phone with him the other night, and we spoke for about good 45 minutes. And then we get off and I'm just dancing around. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was speaking to him. I can't believe he's going to be on the show. Great. Let me get my notes together. Like, let me go research this. And because, I want to look like I did my homework. Yeah. And then I'm thinking, I see the phone ring. I'm like, it's late. And I'm looking, he's calling back. I'm like, it must be a pocket dial. And he said, no, Doriel, I need to tell you something. I was like, there's more? He said something really quickly, but he dropped some gems. And I was thinking, he has a million of them. He has a million of them.
Yeah, he's concerned that you get it. He's like, no, do you hear me? Do you hear me? I was like, no, I heard you. They no, do you hear me? Like, his different voice. And that voice, oh my God, I love that voice. And so, yeah. I mean, I could do a whole show just talking about what Professor James Small means to me. He is, that's my guy. He's all right by me. But yes.
Well, I'm excited to have him be an additional Baba, and uncle and big brother and elder personified in my world, and that I'm able to have him and you and the other brothers, even like what rings in my head every single time I hear Dr. Boyce Watkins, I hear the word be one.
Yeah. You know what? I started seeing that in the chat. People put the little B1, and I was like, "What's B1?" And then I was like looking at something he was talking about, and I was like, "Okay, Dr. Watkins, who's also in HAPI."
Yeah.
And his wife was at the
phenomenal.
Conference. Yeah. Oh
I
yeah,
love
her. Yeah. She's such a nice woman.
I love her. So
she was at the conference.
Looking forward to starting this journey and continuing. Now I'm seeing other people pop on. Y'all folk, I love you dearly. Y'all gonna have to catch the replay. I gave y'all homework. I said we're gonna be on at a particular time. That's okay, because the love is here. Please drop in the comments whether you're here live or on the replay your thoughts. If you know this beautiful woman here who is like my new cousin, from across town, from across the river.
No. You know what? No, because listen, I like when people are about business. A lot of people came by the tent, and
I came by. Tell them about when I came by.
Yes, you came by, and I was like, yes. I was like, okay, Doriel. You took a picture, and then you text me right after. I was like, yes. because like, and listen, shout out to Dr. Brittany Motley,
Come on,
because
Dr. Motley, we
this
know you out there.
yep, this chick who is also from Detroit, we were holding down that tent, her and
Y'all will
I,
hold
and
support.
Taki, yeah, Taki, in the blazing sun. It wasn't, but you know what? When I think about it, it was hotter in Egypt than it was in the temple. It's just that it's the big sugary drinks. It was the big sugary drinks that we drunk on the first day. We were like, what are we doing? So after we got that together, it was cool. But shout out to to Brittany, because she was making sure, like, people came by, she got either a number or a picture. She texted to me right away, and I'm like, damn, okay. So we were really making sure that we could stay connected to everybody that came through.
Right.
That because we can't have a movement with no people.
Right.
So we need to literally, we got to stay connected to everyone. That's super important.
I'm just in love with this whole conversation. And of course it could not have come, at a better time where, some people might be traveling to, another side of the world at some point. Some people might be taking some pictures. Some people might be doing some live streams. Some people might be pushing the live button. I'm just saying, those people who pay attention, y'all know what I'm talking about. We're not going to say nothing, but if you follow Learn to Grow You might be seeing something. I'm just saying.
I wish I was in your suitcase.
Right. So, listen, on that note, well, let's take a sip, and because we on the couch for a good while.
Yes.
But this is, of course, the beginning of a beautiful relationship. I look forward to, once again, like, celebrating and supporting and uplifting and empowering other people. The more than like 2,000 people that are on my platform, just in Facebook alone, and then the other hundreds or whatever people in other spaces.
Yeah.
I want to bring more of the work that, only some people know me to be connected to. And I just spread the word. And this is the way that I'm doing what I can to do that. So,
because there's power in unity. We can't, like, not one type of Black person is going to be able to do all the work. Like, everyone is needed for this. And the thing about it is, like, we can't, I don't know who coined this phrase, but someone was like, you can't do everything, but you can do something.
Of course.
Dr. Rashidi would say that all the time. He's like, you don't have to do everything, but you got to do something. And, like with your platform and with our platform, Cash App works, because all those things you talked about, making these videos and getting out to people and getting these interviews, they cost money, And so, like, when you buy our merchandise, when you support us by making sure you like and comment and share the video, like, those are, you guys are literally putting dollars towards the movement.
Right. So actually, let's just do a little like 3-minute teaching here. There are many ways, and we can do a whole, I'll call it a Tech Tip Tuesday on it.
Mm-hmm.
There are many, many ways that we are monetizing this. Let me say public. If you pay, now this is me preach, you pay search. If you pay to purchase to go to a convention, if you pay to go to the ball game, if you pay to go Broadway, and you pay all of those professionals for studying, for practicing, for knowing their work, for showing up.
Oh, no, I can't hear you.
That is within the digital walls. Hey, we back? We back?
Okay. Yes. I kept kind of hearing you, but yes. Did I disappear?
Not a problem. So in essence, I'm saying, if you could pay for, no, you're here. If you could pay for a Broadway ticket, you could pay for a ball game, you can invest into the intellectual property of the masters of the work. And
Yeah.
so I am now part of like that bandwagon of saying, listen, if I'm going to sit and listen to you, give me what is that Cash App? What's your Patreon? Let's normalize the word Patreon, right? Let's normalize the word, even like the Zelle, the paper, whatever, because we're supporting this movement. And what I was fascinated about, and we're gonna have to probably get down off of the couch because the internet folks is saying y'all talking too much. Um, what I was saddened is when Dr. Ben was of age and people he needed other support, right?
Mm.
Not realizing that he needed like day-to-day support, like day-to-day help. And I didn't know that there wasn't a system that had already been in place to support him. I was very saddened. And I'm like, this is a great person that people come to, all the time for information. And here it is that he's in his twilight years. And those people who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. That giant should not have been at his last months, weeks, days, needing support that he needed. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what the drama is. I'm not here for it. But that which I can do, I want to make sure that the elders who are here that I see and that I can touch or, make a phone call to, that they're taken care of.
Yeah, and and that's why this economics, culture, and politics is important because they didn't have this knowledge. Had they had this knowledge, they could have made different type of business, transactions, so that when they got older, that they would be okay.
It would
And
be
so,
sad.
so it's like they spent their whole lives developing this and having think tanks about it, and they're handing it to us. The least we could do is support them, right? Support them, support anyone that's wanting to do the work and getting out there and doing the work. Like that's the least that's the least we could do. When you talk to Professor Small and you listen to all those, times when he tells you he almost died, this brother was in the movement. And it's not like the movement comes with a pension. You know what I'm saying? Like the movement don't come with a pension. But and so, he had to make a decision. Oh, do I help my people? And he is continuously helping us, or he could have been like, no, I'm just gonna stay over here and do this thing over here. But
Right.
so we have to be really grateful for them.
Right.
There would be no HAPI, not the way that we're looking at it now. Had these elders said, "Oh, I don't want to work with y'all," like, don't nobody want to hear Taki and I just talk about culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, this movement is so much about their teachings, and it's super important that we support that. So, yeah. Yep. HAPIFilm.com. You can get everything. One Africa, Nubia, Second, HAPI. We're going back to Egypt. We're taking another pilgrimage September 9th. It'll be nice. And Mfudishi Juhuti Miss is actually going to be our guide. We had the first 2 sessions of his class this past week. I was sitting in class like this.
Listen, if anybody's still connected, whenever you go to sit for Mfudishi Juhitimas's classes, please just go invest now in a 2 terabyte hard drive.
Yeah. Yeah, he gave us the PowerPoint. I was like, why is the PowerPoint 125 pages? And then that was like he is such a wealth of information, but like everything about him, like he is working on this cultural piece. You got to know and understand Badu Netcher. That it's culturally, it's our language. If we, that's how we learn a culture, is through language, right? Yeah. And so he's given us so much of that, Kemetic spirituality. It's really a nice class. So all, we just have to keep supporting. We have to keep supporting and just doing the work. Just do something.
Right. Share with a young person, give them, I got to make it real practical and break it down. Give them the children's version of the book, make a journal. Child, I got Canva journals for days. Like take some of the symbols that are there, transfer it into like a coloring book or a little,
Everything's on Google now.
dictionary. Make it a card game, make it a little song.
Yes.
I'm not
And
necessarily the person who's like make everything. And I have to say this publicly. I'm not the person who says everything that has to be like African inspired has to be a rap. I'm actually not for that. I have very interesting issues about that. But make it in such a variety of ways that multiple people from different platforms can access it and digest it and marinate on it and grow from it.
yeah, and then go to Egypt. That's the other thing. We need to go to Egypt. That's part culturally. We need to go to where it all started. Like that needs to be ingrained in us, and we have to keep. But we have to, put that as an expectation that we have for ourselves. Like people have expectations to go this place, go that place. That needs to be part of what we do as a Black person. We have to start. We have to start accessing all these things that they've left for us.
Right. Part of the pilgrimage for life.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go to anywhere else in the world, I don't care if you're going to the Caribbean island, whether or not your family was from there, make it a pilgrimage.
Absolutely. Yep.
A pilgrimage. So I'm just saying publicly, when you said September, I'm like, I
know, but what's no, because usually we go in February, but the little haters was hating. Haters gonna hate, like Cat Williams said. So that's why we don't, because every year we always go in February. It's always February. And it's like the week that teachers are off. And we had, but we had to pivot and kind of do something different this year. But we're going to keep going.
All right. So those people, if you're still here, I'm so in love with the fact that you're still here and you're still rolling with us. This has definitely been, again, the first of many conversations that you will see. And this is part of a new Classes in Session. It's a part of a new Classes in Session series underneath the Digital Couch Tutorial umbrella, because I have 3 little mini series, and this definitely is about thinking, teaching, and learning outside of the box. Teaching and learning outside of the box. This is a new Classes in Session. All the stuff that we've been through over the last couple of 2 or 3 years, with us having the whole world having to pivot from being in a building and at a seat and on a desk to now being, in our living room, on our couch, maybe sitting on the side of the bed, staring into a screen. It's still the information. A new Classes in Session. If we had to pivot there, then our mind should be pivoting as well. And so please take this information. Again, if you're going to share this out, please do so. If you're going to be part of my stream team, hashtag stream team, take notes and drop things that were an aha to you, because somebody else may have missed it, but your aha and somebody else's aha is going to be a great choral like melody that's going to play very well in the rest of the minds of those who are listening. And so I want you to take this information, let it be just the seed, just the beginning germination of what's going to grow in your mind, because here at Learn to Grow You, we plant seeds to help you grow. I look forward to seeing you on the next go around. Again, please share this out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to HAPI Film. They have their own YouTube channel. Follow them. If you heard a word, a name, a phrase, a thought, type it in, share it with someone else, and then let the people know who are speaking that you are listening and that you're taking it in. Peace and blessings. This is Learn to Grow You Moment, where our plant seeds help you grow. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, where we will have Professor James Small right there.
Yes.
Right there. And if you're seeing this out of order, just go type in James Small on my YouTube channel and Facebook page, and you'll see it. Yes. Good night for now.
All right. Peace, family.